You got, all right, so welcome everybody. I'm Mark, your president for MSYSA. Unfortunately, this week we don't have a guest. We had a couple people that we thought were going to come on. One was an MLS representative, but the structure that has been negotiating between MLS and U.S. Youth is not finished yet. So there's a lot of things that they're working out. So no one really wanted to come on and report on things that they can't report on. So we will have somebody from the MLS within a week or two once the deal goes through with U.S. Youth and MLS, if it does go through. But it's looking pretty good. The word that we've got on the street so far is that they're working towards like this new league, comprehensive league, that they're going to work together, U.S. Youth and MLS. Just a couple quick notes. Remember that if you're not speaking, please be on mute so that everyone's able to hear properly. And if you do want to ask a question, a live question, a lot of people typically just use the chat and I'll read the question. But if you want to just pipe on and talk about an issue or question or concern, you just please identify yourself so we know who it is. So this week's U.S. Youth webinar, seems like a lot of people are having these webinars now. U.S. Youth has one just like we do. They have theirs in the beginning of the week. We have ours at the end, but we do it at the end because we try to compile everything that's happening throughout the week and then report to everybody so that at least you guys are in the loop of what we know. And originally, U.S. Youth was going to have a meeting right after this webinar, and they were going to talk about the latest and greatest, but they postponed it until next week. But one of the things that's very interesting, they put together a task force to come up with the right type of protocol for back to play, as far as the kids, the coaches, and the families. What the children need to do, the players, what they need to do on the field, during play, off the field, and then back home. So most likely by next Friday, we're going to have a better sense of where the protocol is going to be and what protocol we should follow once we get back to play. Speaking about back to play, there's some states, as some of you know, that their governors have cleared the state to get back on the field. Unfortunately, Maryland wasn't one of them. And my guess is, just based on listening to the senator last week and also listening to the councilman the week before, and also listening to our governor on TV from time to time, I think he usually errs on the side of caution. So my guess is, unfortunately, Maryland probably won't be in the early groupings that will be back to play, unfortunately. But I think that when other states have already started getting their kids back on the field, I'm kind of hoping that catches on fire in a good way, and we can bring some good news to everybody that we can get back out on the field. So I think, since it's happening in some other states, it's promising that eventually, within a couple weeks, we might get some good news. I guess it depends on what happens in the next couple weeks. So I think I'd like to have Jessica Hafer, who's in charge of our registration, just wanted to give a quick report on the status of where we are with the changeover and any of the updates that she might have. So Jessica.
Hello, everybody. So I'm getting with Got Sport next week, and we're going to set up the dates and times for phase 2. And just for everybody, as a reminder, you can find the link on our website, MSYSA.org, under registration. There's a link there for the different phases. we will have then an additional link for once those phases, for phase 2, those webinars get set up so that you can then sign up like you did for phase 1 webinars. Other than that, we still also have the 1-to-1 registrations if you would like to have more of a personalized touch with getting your club set up for the upcoming year. All the APIs for coaches are getting all set up now as well. So those will be active once we start in the summer with getting the coaches to do their updated courses for CDC concussion and safe sport. So that's pretty much about it. I think someone just sent in a chat question. Let me check that. Yes, the webinars are recorded. Right now, phase 1 is actually on the website, MSYSA.org, under registration. So if anybody wants a recap of phase 1, that is already up. So I would strongly suggest visiting our website. And as everyone knows, if you have any questions or you would like to email me, I can be emailed at registration@msysa.org. I will type it into the chat. And my cell number is 410-330-8692.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Jessica before we move on? Any other questions? Okay, so let's move on. So next, our executive director, Flo Egan, wanted to give us a quick snapshot of what's happening over the last week or so. And then after Flo, we're going to hear from Brad Roos, our State Cup commissioner, and he'll report on some of the things that's in the works for State Cup. So Flo, go ahead. Flo, I think you're on mute. Flo, take yourself off of mute.
I was doing that. Okay, so it's been a whirlwind. We are, MSYSA is currently, I'm sitting in our new offices. We moved physically 2 days ago. So needless to say, everybody's office is piled high with boxes. So we will be in the next week unpacking. So if anyone has a deep passion and loves to unpack, certainly give me a call and we'd be happy to have you come here and help us. Our phone numbers will remain the same. So any of the leadership in the clubs have our current phone number. That will remain the same. The phones are being turned on today. All right. We will be posting our new address. We will be sending something out with the new address. We are now in Howard County. So we're excited about that. And we're hoping that once everything calms down, we can have a meet and greet for our club leadership. We can invite you here to, see us and see where we are now and figure out new ways that we could possibly serve our membership. The other thing is the recruitment policy. We had questions about our current recruitment policy and the dates that were in there for the open periods that you could reach out to other players and coaches from other teams or clubs. Obviously, once we get the green light and we have open, back to play dates, we can adjust that policy, back those dates up if necessary. And we are working on that with the policy committee. That's kind of an easy fix because I know some of the seasons, some of the leagues and clubs maybe are trying to get their spring season backed up a little bit, and we can back that open, those open dates up to coincide with that. The one other thing I have is our ODP and our international trips. Obviously, we're very excited about the partnership that we have with World Strides, and they have been gone above and beyond to work with the families that were currently scheduled to go on those international trips. We were supposed to go Easter time, and then it was postponed till August. Now the international trips, we have pushed them back to the spring of 2021. The details are being sent to the families as we speak. There'll be another one going out either today or over the weekend to the families and the players that were scheduled to travel. And like I said, we have, they are the leaders in the international travel program, and we're excited to be able to, and look forward to be able to travel with our players again next spring. And that's pretty much I have for this week. We're gonna go back to unpacking boxes. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so next, Brad Roos, State Cup Director, wants to give a report on what has transpired over the last 10 days. Brad?
Okay, thanks, Mark, and I hope everybody is safe. I know this is a challenging time for everybody as far as with their students in school and still the remaining stay-at-home orders. We did send out an email, an email note from the MSYSA board and staff on an update on State Cup and President's Cup. So this actually has to do with both. And we're still hopeful to have an event. We've moved forward with looking at locations to make sure that this can happen. I will tell you that any event that we have here, if we're able to this summer, would be a no stay type thing, meaning that teams will be able to drive to the games and then drive home. There would be no stay involved as far as the cup games would be as far as State Cup and President's Cup. We're in a holding pattern like everyone else. As a group, we've kind of are using June 1st as a date to make a final decision. Now, it's not 100%, especially if there was more information coming out within a day or two of that date, but we do feel that we would probably, in order to do something, would probably need to be back on the fields somewhere around June 1st. Give teams about 10 days to kind of get together, start training, and then be able to start the event, both events. I have received emails from several organizations asking about telling me either one of two things: either their clubs will not be involved or be able to do State Cup for this year. That's fine. Clearly, we would reach out to every team if we do decide that we are able to do it, just to find out what your status is and to make sure you can go forward. Secondly, if anyone decides that they don't feel comfortable or they can't as a group move forward for this summer, if we are able to have it, as I said before, and I'm very happy to record this, is that MSYSA will be giving 100% credit for next year's event. They will not be taking out any administrative costs or any other costs that we've incurred. We'll give 100% credit for next year's event. Really, that's kind of where we are right now. If anyone has any questions directly, they can email me or call me. I'm happy to answer anything offline. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. We have one question from one of our affiliates for recruitment policy. So is May 15th no longer the start date to be able to speak openly to any player? Because we're basically in a holding pattern. I think, is Sean Fleming on the line by any chance? Sean? Anybody from the recruiting committee want to answer that question? Anybody on?
Mark, it's Brad. I don't think there is, but it's a great question, and probably we need to get Sean to write something up and have it sent out to all the clubs, I think. in the next couple days would be helpful.
Yep.
Mark.
we'll-
Hey, Mark, it's
Yes, Carrie.
it's Carrie. And actually, I put that question in, and I am on the recruitment committee, and so that's why I kind of put it out there, because I don't have the answer to that. I don't know that it's been discussed. I just know that the dates in the policy, the dates were clearly stated. So I think if we either need to allow those dates to be, or there probably needs to be some type of
Adjustment.
amendment. Yes, because I think it's going to be very confusing.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll get, obviously Sean's not on the call. I'll get with Sean, who's the chairman of that committee, and try to get clarification of what we think is the best policy moving forward.
Mark,
And
just
what
a
we're-
reminder, it's Jessica, the last time when we talked about it, we had stated we didn't have a specific date because we didn't know when the return to play was. That was the last dialogue regarding that matter.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of hard to use any dates, arbitrary dates, when we have no idea when we're going to be getting back on the field. And so,
Right.
I agree. I agree, but I think that unless we come out with a amendment or a recommendation otherwise, I think really coaches cannot be held accountable if they reach out to a player, like on May 20th, because that is in our policy currently. Does that make sense?
no, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Carrie, and I 100% agree with you that we need to have something in writing so that everybody is clear
Yeah.
about what they can and cannot do at this point. So I think that's a great point. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, so next, I'd like to have Dan Giffen from Olney Soccer Club and DC United just wants to give a quick report about the information he might have concerning the MLS. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to have Dave Stanford from our academy get on this call here when the time's appropriate, because there's still quite a few questions. This doesn't affect everybody or anything like that, but it's good to know for the club leadership that's here. One of the things that I understand they're working on this, there's going to be some relationship here between USYS and this. As usual, there are things that are tied up in New York. So before we kind of go on the record and kind of, build or frame what the new league and the new, academy is going to look like, we want to make sure we have all the facts in a row. So he's going to get on there with me, and probably I'm going to guess like 2 weeks. And then we'll have more of an update for that for everybody to share. But at this point, whatever you see on Twitter or whatever you hear out there from like DMV Soccer or some of these other things, don't believe it until you see a statement. We will probably share maybe something here early with this group. I don't believe UYSA is doing anything like these calls, by the way, which is awesome that we're doing this in Maryland again. But just be patient. We're going to have some more. It's not like you're going to run out and play tomorrow or in June or July anyhow. Okay. That's all. I just want to give you an update that there's work that's going on, but it's kind of being held up in New York and I guess with Frisco, Dallas.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate the update. Alan Lydiate, Director of Coaching, is up next. Alan?
Cheers, Mark. So really my idea for today was really just to walk through, obviously, club leadership. The new grassroots licenses were launched a couple of years ago. We want to try and engage as many clubs as possible in coaching education. So I just wanted to run through a little presentation that we have that I can share with you as clubs, just to give you a better understanding of the process of how to host courses or hopefully collaborate as clubs across the board to bring coaching education licenses or courses to your area. So currently June 30th is the is the date, the return date. So obviously, let me just try and get the presentation up here. I'll just quickly see where it's gone. So obviously there's nothing, and obviously June, July, August is hopefully going to be an opportunity for us to be able to get back hosting courses. And obviously from there, we want to try and get as many in as we possibly can prior to the fall season, you know, and obviously provide an opportunity for coaches to get licensed. Some people are on wait to try and get D courses, D license, but obviously entry-level courses as well. So just 1 second. I'm just trying to get, for some reason, my screen is, there we go. Can you see that? I'll have to take that out and just do it this way. Apologies, I've just lost you a second. So I just want to try and shift to a new screen. It's not coming up right now. Sorry, 1 second.
You falling down on us?
I know it's not showing me the menu bar, so for some reason I can't find the menu bar to share the screen. So sorry, it should be there now. My apologies. So just to quickly run through, obviously as clubs, what's the purpose of coaching education? Obviously, we want to improve the practice environments. That's going to create growth for you as clubs. We know that, you know, that ultimately, you know, better coaches engage players, keeps players in the club, keeps them playing longer. So obviously growth is a critical component. So our mission really as a state is to bring, you know, opportunities for players, coaches, and clubs of all levels really to maximize the potential and obviously enjoyment in the game. US soccer primary goal is to obviously make soccer the preeminent sport. That doesn't mean just, you know, the most players, but also the most beloved sport, the most respected sport across the land. Obviously, it's a huge challenge. We currently have about 3 to 4 million registered players. Hopefully that continues. You know, but it's been stagnant for the last 10 to 20 years. We know, and I'm sure many of you know that we lose about 75% of kids. They drop out of sports for many different reasons by the age of 13. But we've also seen a massive decrease in volunteer coaches for lots of different reasons as well. Obviously, the working environment, you know, both parents are now working more hours, so it's a lot more difficult for them to be able to volunteer their time. I think that was an interesting one, 2004 report, University of Maine. You know, untrained coaches, when they try to, there's a drop rate of about 20%, 26%, whereas licensed educated coaches tend to lose a lot less from their teams with around 5%. So the importance of coaching education and a culture of education in your club is critical. And I believe that strongly, especially in this country, because, you know, in the beginning, in the entry level years, when we utilize volunteer coaches or where parent coaches engage, many of those parents have never played the game. Many of those parents have never, you know, understand the rules or understand the game itself. So culturally, you know, I think the importance of coaching education is critical for us to continue to develop and grow this game. So obviously the education outcomes is to improve the environments, retain players, retain coaches because they feel more important. There's a growth aspect to them as a coach, you know, and then obviously engage parents as well, because obviously the more you educate the coaches, the better educated they'll be to pass that on to the parents and hopefully create that environment where we'd have better environments where all three parties are working together, parents, players, and coaches. The current pathway, so we have online and in-person courses. There are 4 modules. When we talk about grassroots, we talk about really up to under 13. So 6 years old to 12 years old. That entry level for players primarily. Although we have 11v11 in there as a model, it's, at 12, 11, 12 is where we sort of see a separation of players, those that just really want to play for participation, just for fun. And then we have those that want to go on a more competitive pathway. For those that go on a more competitive pathway, obviously we utilize, if you take your C license, in the C license, we use what we call OLI, so Orientation, Learning, Implementation Methodology, which is more of a 4-phase practice session. For the grassroots, we've moved to what we call play, practice, play. So it's similar to the old whole part whole. There's 3 stages and it's very much game-based. So 4 different modules, 4v4, 7v7, 9v9, 11v11. The online courses are $25. They can be taken. They're about 2 hours in duration. In order for a coach to be able to progress to the D license, they must have 1 online course and 2 in person. When they do the 2 in person courses, one of those must be the 11v11 for them then to progress to the D license. So that's the current landscape. And obviously, as they work their way up the ladder, they separate at A senior, A youth, A senior being more towards if you're working in college, A youth, obviously, elite youth levels, and then obviously onto the pro license. We are piloting as well. USSF is piloting a director of coaching course right now, which is going to become more available in the future as well. So what we're looking for, what we want to try and encourage is clubs across the state, in every district. In your own club, there's a cycle. You've got new teams that are coming in every year, new coaches that are coming in every year. So we want to encourage you to try and provide, based on your own structure, 2 courses, or should I say, all 4 game models during the course of the year. So that might be 2 modules in sort of winter period, November through sort of March, and then 2 during the course of the summer. So then over the course of the year, you've provided all 4 game models for your coaches. Again, this can be collaborative with other clubs, but when you host a course, it's not just exclusive to your own coaches. When you host a course, it's open to the public, and therefore coaches from other clubs can come in and complete the course. So don't feel like you have to get a certain number of candidates, because that pretty much takes care of itself. The main thing that you obviously do need is obviously the facilities. We need access to a field or playing area. We need access to players. One of the things with coaching education now is we have to provide players because it's experiential learning. We have to talk about the behaviors of those age groups. So if you're doing a 7v7 course, we want to try and aim to get players in those age groups, so that the coaches can really have a realistic learning experience. So again, same with the D license. D license now is over 2 meetings. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 course meetings. There's a up to 6-month period in between. So it can't go any further than 6 months, but it could be as short of maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So there's a development period in between where they have to complete assignments. If you host courses, you automatically receive 2 scholarships for you to be able to, provide to your coaches. That helps offset some of the costs for the facilities if you have your own. If that doesn't work, we certainly, you know, welcome you to engage. So if there's a certain cost for the facility or something that you can't manage, that, you know, you would rather us cover the cost of the facility than the scholarships, then please get in touch, and obviously we can discuss that and try and come to some agreement or find some opportunities, you know, certainly within your area. Last year when I first started, we had 2 licensed instructors, myself and Willie Abera. We are now at 14 licensed instructors. As of right now, I have another 4 what I call trainee instructors who are looking to try and get onto the instructor course, the instructor license. You have to be an A or a B license to be a full instructor right now. So I welcome, you know, if you have A or B licensed coaches in your club and you want to engage, you know, obviously, if they want to engage in coaching education and get on the pathway in terms of becoming an instructor, you know, my goal is to try and develop instructors in every district throughout the state of Maryland, and then connect those instructors to the clubs so that we can support you better and have a better connection. My biggest problem right now is connecting with and finding the phone numbers and emails for the right people that deal with it. And a lot of the time there's transition in the clubs as well. So some clubs where I've been working with directors in the past, that director's moved on. And so it's finding who's taken over that, you know, that position. So, you know, I welcome the conversation. I welcome the opportunity to talk about, you know, talk about coaching education and how it can improve, you know, the game in general, first and foremost, but also your clubs. And, you know, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is trying to establish a culture where players engage in coaching education so that they return back into the clubs, hopefully when they finish college, if they go off to college. But if they don't, can they continue within the club to help that club grow? The license age used to be 18. It's now been dropped for these grassroots courses to 16. Maryland United doing a great job in terms of trying to establish a course for their players. I think it's great for the players at 16 to 18 to build their resume, you know, and to establish, you know, a culture whereby players are, you know, entering into and understanding more about the game and how it's coached and some of the areas or aspects that the coach has to deal with. So again, if you want to understand more about hosting a course, we have a lot of information on the website. Once you've got the information together, you feel like you've got a facility where you can host, you've got dates where you know, then we have a booking form that's on the website. You go in, complete the booking form. I will take, obviously I receive a notification.
Want to speak, or do you still want me to speak? I'm sending Mark.
Oh, mute. Can you mute, Flo? Flo, can you mute? Thank you. So once I've got received that form, I look to set it up in the DLC, and then assign a instructor to that course, and then they will work with the club then to make sure that course is completed. Obviously, we send you the links that you can send out to your own coaches. So you get that first before it goes live. So you can get the information out to your own coaches, provide those with the scholarship so they can register, and then it goes live in the DLC. And again, we try and promote as much as we can from the web or social media as well. So again, welcome any conversation centered around coaching education, around licenses. You know, I'm really looking forward to trying to get as many courses in as we possibly can in July, August. We don't know what it's going to look like with the numbers. You know, maybe we have to cap them at, you know, a certain number of, you know, in a classroom, that type of thing. And then obviously as well, it really depends on whether we can get players So, lots of variables, but, fingers crossed we're back out there and we're active July, August, and we can prepare ready for the fall season.
Sounds good. We have a question from Val. Val, you want to pop on? Val? You got to take yourself off of mute, Val. Maybe he doesn't have a question. Okay, so thanks, Alan, for the report.
Appreciate it.
And now we have like answers, questions, comments. Does anybody have any questions they want to, it's a casual chat. And does any clubs want to let us know how you guys are doing through this? We know that it's a difficult time. We want to kind of share on some of the struggles, some of the things you've been doing. Any kind of chat, we're open for it. Anyone?
Hey, Mark, before we end, Nathan is busy working with the Comcast guy, but he asked that I could possibly share with the clubs that we are trying to update our database so that the emails get to the leadership in the clubs. And the best way for our clubs to do that is our constant contact or emails. They get sent through our registration system, which is Stack. What we ask the clubs to do and the club leadership to do is they need to sign into their Stack account and fill out the club page. It just says board of directors, but anybody that the club wants to get information from us, if they can complete that piece of their registration page in Stack, then it automatically, that's where our database is pulled from when we send out communication. So we can't go into the club's individual pages. So we need the club leadership to do that. If they have a registrar or they have a DOC or they have anybody, the administrator, anybody that they want to receive the information from us for their club, they can go in and add those names and email addresses, and then they will be able to get communication, including these type of webinars and any information that we send out from MSYSA.
Yeah, that, by the way, just a correction. That should be, you guys should be going on Got Sport, not Stack.
No, Stack for now. It's through the Stack registration system because we can't use Got Sport until August. And the API isn't set up for that yet.
So they can't do both now?
Well, they can do both, but what we currently pull from is from Stack.
Okay, I probably would say that if you can do both, it might be a good idea to do both since we're switching over.
Sure.
We're switching over in a couple months because that's
Right.
The most important thing about communication is we have to have, in order to communicate, do mass emails out to state leadership and registrated players. We need to have your current information so we can keep in contact with everybody. Because frankly, what's happening is a lot of people still are not aware of these webinars across the state. Believe it or not, there's some clubs and some of our affiliates that I think are clueless of not knowing that we have this every Friday at 11:30. So the more that we update the system, the better it is for everyone. Does any clubs want to chat with us about how things are going, what you guys are doing? And if you're in a difficult situation with refunds, how you're addressing those things. Anybody have any comments? I guess not. No one wants to talk today on a Friday. So if that's the case, we'll meet back next Friday at we got it. We got somebody here.
That's Washington Capital SC, Mark. He's trying to reach Alan.
Okay.
He's one of the DOCs there and coaches.
Got it. All right, so we're going to have this again next Friday at 11:30. and we have a couple people that we might have on. We might have a guest to talk about, a representative for park and planning, to give us a little bit of idea what they're thinking about as far as fields and stuff. So hopefully if we can get him on next week, that would be a interesting topic to see what the park and planning people are thinking about opening up fields, because that's an important piece of the puzzle for all of us, because until the governor gives us the okay to get back on the fields, it doesn't really matter what park and planning says. It really matters about what the governor says, and then how park and planning are going to adhere to the new guidelines. But next week, we're going to have a good protocol of how to get back on the field. It's going to be great recommendations that's coming from U.S. youth. It's going to, and I don't know what the protocol is going to be, but I'm sure it's what they want, what they recommend the players and the coaches to do when they get on the field, how they recommend getting off the field, and then once they get home, what type of cleanup and protection once they get the gear back home and things like that. So there's a really strong committee working on that, and the reason why they probably couldn't report to us today is because there's a lot of thought that goes into it. I mean, it's not just using hand sanitizer on your ball in your hands and you're done. There's a lot of things that we want to do right so that we win this battle against this virus, so we can all get back and do, what we want to do. Anybody else want to bring anything up? Any kind of chat? Come on, let me have one person. One brave soul out there. Anybody want to make a comment?
I will.
Yeah, yeah, just one quick comment. Sorry to jump in. Dan Giffen, could you do us a favour? Could you just remove your baseball cap just for a minute, Dan? I just see what's under there. I feel as if you're trying to hide something, Dan.
That not happening, Eric. It's not happening. I still have hair there, buddy. But
that's below the belt.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. No, let's just put it this way. I wish that I could get my hair cut again. It's just getting a little bit like...
Dan, I would push you to the next limit and see if you could stand up and show us your pajama bottoms, but I won't embarrass you.
No, sorry. I hate to disappoint you. I just have some Adidas, black shorts. Got a match, Come on, Eric. You got better than that. You're losing.
Oh, I know you too well, Dan.
I know you do.
Hey, so something else Flo touched on it, but I'll reiterate. The new office is in a beautiful site in Columbia, Maryland. It's more centralized for everyone to get to. It's got a beautiful atrium in the center, a very large atrium. We're going to be hosting a lot of events in that atrium because it holds a lot of people. And probably one of the first things when this is all over, and I'm sure, I'm just putting this out so you guys put it in your memory banks, is that we're going to have like a really awesome social. I feel really positive about getting to know a lot of you guys out there through this webinar. It'll be great to have us all in person once we can do it, to come to the office. We'll have food and refreshments, and the clubs could, we can all just kind of schmooze and get to know each other a little better and listen to, the different things that are happening throughout the state. And then also another thing, and I mentioned this last week and the week before, is that, and I think I mentioned it today too, is that we're going to continue these, whether we have 20 people or 100 people. At one point we had 130 people that signed up and was on the line. That was in the beginning when a lot of us were all in the panic stage. But we're going to keep doing these seminars on a monthly basis, and just to do what we're doing here, just kind of report. Hopefully we'll be talking about rec programs. We'll be talking about ODP. We'll be talking about state cup. We'll be talking about regional things. We'll be talking about registration. It's just a good venue to keep us all together as the year goes on. And I can't wait for those monthly meetings, because once we go to monthly meetings, that means that we're back on the field and things are back to somewhat normal. So looking forward to that. And our ODP international trips, unfortunately, were canceled this year. We just couldn't World Strides has been like an incredible company to work with. And between the state office and World Strides, we couldn't even fathom even sending teams in the fall. It's just too soon with everything that's happened. So we decided, sad. It was sad because it's for those families and players that have played international play in Europe. It's an awesome experience, but we couldn't take the risk. It's just not worth it. So we'll be back at it hopefully next spring break, and looking forward to that too. Anyone
Hey,
else?
Mark. Yeah, Mark, this is Dan. I got to just give Eric Mackler, who just spoke a minute ago, a shout out. In all seriousness, he's got a really cool program, and maybe he'll touch on it again. And I'll get back to that in 1 second. I'm going to forward to a lot of our members, including Brendan in communications, a program we're doing with DC United with the mayor's office in the district. It's like a 10-day fitness challenge. So as many of the clubs I work with know, I've been sending out links, just something to help fill in stuff with the kids. But this program's pretty cool. And it has both about a half dozen players and Ben Olsen in there. And it kind of gives people a little bit more of an inside personal touch. So, look for that. I'll be sending that out this afternoon. And then we'll have, any other updates as they go along. And like I said, I'll get back to you about the academy. But going back to Eric, he has some guest speakers, similar to what we're doing at DC United. So these are all just little things to complement people. And it's a pretty cool series. And to be fair, I just looked at it yesterday. I reached out to him, but I'm actually going to forward that to some of the clubs I work with as well. He's got some really cool speakers on there. I think he had like David Moyes, and that's right, Eric.
Yeah.
And Owen Coyle and some others. So it looks pretty exciting. I'm actually going to be listening to those as well to get some other insights. And he's got some good speakers, and I believe Sasha's on there as well.
Yeah, and thank you, Dan. And I'll just give a quick insight to that. I've been working with Nathan at the MSYSA office, and we're going to make those resources available to all of the MSYSA community. It's a program I come up with like a week or so ago. I just called it the Starting 11. It's 11 speakers from the soccer world with a focus on culture, on leadership, and also in coaching. Predominantly, majority of them are friends of mine that I either grew up with or played with or coached against or whatever. But we're going to embed that into the resources page on the MSYSA website, and we're going to brand it a little bit with our stuff. I finished the last 2 interviews today, and the second wave has already started. We'll get 5 top people in the women's game. Coming up is the intro to our second series, all international managers from 5 different countries. So that's coming up as phase 2. But just as you mentioned, Dan, yesterday I had 5 of the interviews. Sasha Sorofsky was on there, who was phenomenal. Just absolutely exceptional. We had 45 minutes with him, with David Moyes, with James McFadden, who played in the Premier League for 10 years, and with Owen Coyle, who managed at Houston Dynamo, managed the English Premier League. So I'm actually doing Derek Ray this afternoon, who's the international soccer commentator based up in Massachusetts. He works, he did the World Cup and all that stuff. An interesting guy, just a great story through his soccer journey. So it's been fun doing it. Certainly the goal for that was just to give a different angle during these times and get an insight to some real experts in their field. And Nathan and I have been working on it, and certainly excited to bring that as more resources to your clubs, to your coaching staff. And certainly it's free, it's accessible to everybody. And just reach out to myself or Alan and Nathan, and we can certainly share that with all your coaching staff as well.
All right, thanks. Based on the video that I'm looking at, it looks like you're in the old folks home, by the way.
Oh yeah. That's the one
with the lamp and the 2 pictures back there.
That's the one. But I left that because it was the environment was not the best. But yeah, it's a good group.
Hey, Mark, this is Val from Coppermine. I got a question for Alan. Alan, to host a coaching course, is there a requirement for the number of coaches? Is it 12? Is it 20? Because that's something that we, Coppermine, would be interested in hosting. Obviously, we have our own facility, so we can do it indoor on a 9v9 facility, or we can do it outdoor on a full pitch. And we have classrooms, we have whatever is necessary to host a course.
Yeah, so there's no real minimum. But I guess that the question is, if you're really confident that you can get players, then really the minimum number drops of coaches. If we're not able to get players, then obviously you need enough coaches to be able to do a session to make it relevant. So depending on if it's 11v11 session, then you might need more coaches. However, when we put them out, once we open up a course, it's not just your own coaches. Yes, we want your coaches in there, but at the same time, it's public. I mean, we have all the time. I have guys coming from New York, from lots of other states, PA, New Jersey. So there's coaches coming from all over to fill these courses because maybe they haven't got one in their own state that's, or it's closer to come here than it is to go wherever it's being hosted in their own state. So normally I would say 8 is probably the minimum. However, don't feel that it has to be 8 of your coaches, because once it goes public, in fact, in the last, I think I've only cancelled one course, I think, in the last 12 months based on numbers. So we've had we're certainly doing really well with the new grassroots. A lot of what's really important is, I think the reason why we've shifted and we've gone to more of it's less X's and O's than what coaching education used to be. I think some of the, things that used to scare sort of parent coaches off was, one, they had to play and they weren't comfortable with that. Now we're utilizing players. The next one is, it was too complex in terms of building a session and doing everything. So the sessions are provided, but we look at what surrounds a coach. So we talk about 6 tasks, so training sessions, coaching games, your own leadership, developing your own plan and reflecting, managing the performance environment. So talking about parents and how to engage parents and educate parents, leading the players. So how do we build rapport and how do we build a team culture? So it really works around those 6 components. And from the reaction that I've had over the last, 12 to 16 months is, the coaches love it, because it's, it's something that all levels, whether you're a parent, you're entry level, or you're a college guy that's come out and you probably know more about the X's and O's, but maybe you haven't had the experience of dealing with parents. How do you deliver a team meeting? What do you talk about? So these courses have been well received. And I think, like I say, the more readily available we make them, the better it is for the community as a whole, not so much just your club, but the community that's around you. Maybe some of the recreational clubs, like, possibly the YMCAs and some of those coaches can come across and get opportunities to be educated that's going to support and help develop and grow the game as a whole. Because, a lot of your players will be coming from these environments. So the better those environments are, the better it's going to serve you as a club. If you're more of a competitive club, or, those players are going to be seeking other pathways. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about the numbers. I think we always tend to get enough to be able to host a course.
So, Val, did he answer your question?
Yes, sir. 100%.
15-minute answer. He had to.
No. It was perfect. I was very helpful, and obviously, we tend to do that not just for our coaches, but for all the coaches around the area. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job providing that to many clubs and many coaches. I think, me being born in Portugal, I've came to US at age 17, and I've seen the changes, and I've seen what needs to be worked on, and I think that's definitely one topic that
is that where you're from, Portugal? I thought you were from the Bronx.
I've never been to the Bronx, not yet. But I look at every aspect. The difference between European soccer, the coaching style. It's tough. You don't have to deal with parents as much in Europe. Here, that's definitely a challenge for coaches, especially me when I first started. But I think people need to understand that that's important to be able to communicate with parents, give feedback about their kids, and be open to communicate. A lot of coaches tend to run away from parents. One, either because maybe the parent is too problematic, but at the end of the day, it's good to give feedback and let them know why the kid is not playing as much, why is the kid not progressing, different scenarios. It's important to get to know the players and the parents as well.
Hey, Mark, I'm going to jump in real quick. This
Hey,
is
Dan,
great.
you're only allowed 3 comments. You're at your
Okay.
limit.
Well, I'm going to use one of them, like a cat has 9 lives. Okay. I just want to remind, we talked about this as well, not just the coaching course, but you can also do the referee courses, especially if you have players that are, like say middle school or in high school age. I'm on these, there's several people who'll be on these NCSL calls too. We still have a huge, opportunity for referees to get licenses now. This is a great time to start thinking about who you would do that. It's the same stuff like Alan said. People can come in from other clubs and do that, but it's a great way for especially the older kids to make some, good money, and they're going to learn a little bit more about the game, give them a little bit more insight. So we've done that at Olney. I'm trying to set up another one here, probably this fall, but obviously we have a lot of things that are on hold. I just want to give them a shout out if they're on here too.
All right, thanks, Dan. That was a good point. Another thing I wanted to let everybody know who's still on the call is that a longtime employee, wonderful woman, Adrian, our bookkeeper for the state office, is going to be retiring soon. So we're going to be, believe it or not, during this time, we're going to be hiring a new bookkeeper. So anybody out there in the soccer world that knows a bookkeeper that would like to maybe send the information to Flo at the office. Flo, if you're still on, you can maybe put your email on the chat so people can have it, and then have the see if you can send have them send the resume over so she could start going through them, because we're going to be hiring in the near future. Preferably, we were thinking a bookkeeper that could work 3 days a week as a bookkeeper, and then the other 2 days would be more like an administrative assistant or whatever. So it would be a full-time job. I don't think it's a full-time bookkeeping job, so that's why I wanted everybody to know that there would be a little bit of administrative work just to help out with all the different programs, especially when we get back to play. We're going to be Zooming, and we're going to have a lot of different things we're going to have to try to play catch up on. So, and it's not the catch up that you put on your hot dog. It's the catch up that we need to put in motion to get all the programs up and running. So I thought I'd throw that out since we have this open forum. Anybody else like to say anything before we shut it down? Okay, it looks like we're shutting it down. Go back to work, everybody. We'll see you next week, Friday, 11:30.